While OLED TVs have constantly been considered the best of the best in terms of TV picture quality, they've always come with a higher price tag and have generally only been available from a handful of companies like LG and Sony. Today we're going to be taking a look at the new 2020 Vizio OLED, which is the first budget-focused OLED TV widely available in North America. Hey, my name's Nick. I'm a writer here at Ratings.com, where we help people find the best products for their needs. Make sure to subscribe to our channel for our latest videos, or check out the website for the full review. Today we're going to take a look at the design of the TV and then move on to picture quality. We'll also take a look at motion handling, input lag, and sound. Throughout the review, I'll compare it to Vizio's highest-end LCD TV from 2020, the Vizio P-Series Quantum X 2020, as well as what's probably this year's most popular OLED TV, the LG C10. If you'd like to skip straight ahead to our test results, see the links in the description below. We bought the 55-inch Vizio OLED to test, but it's also available in a 65-inch model as well. We expect this larger size to have similar picture quality and perform almost identically overall. If you've bought the 65-inch Vizio OLED and your experience doesn't line up with our results, let us know in the comments below. It's worth mentioning that when we first bought and tested this TV, we experienced a few bugs and issues, but Vizio has since released a firmware update and we've retested the TV with this latest firmware. Therefore, this video is based off our current retest with the TV running the latest firmware as of the time of this filming. The Vizio OLED has an incredible design that looks much nicer and more premium than any other Vizio TVs we've tested. The main frame is made out of smooth matte metal with good quality plastic on the back. The TV uses a nice looking and fairly low profile center stand that does a good job at supporting the TV without much wobble, and it's designed to perfectly fit Vizio's Elevate soundbar. Because the stand raises the screen from your table quite a bit, you can also likely fit any other soundbar you have, though it may not fit as perfectly as the Elevate. As is to be expected from an OLED, the top portion of the TV is remarkably thin, but it gets bigger near the bottom, as that's where all your internals and inputs are held. Overall, it looks about as premium as the more expensive LG C10, which is nice to see. Like with every other Vizio TV we've tested this year, the OLED has inputs facing downwards on the back, as well as some facing sideways, making it easier to access should you wall mount your TV. On the side, you've got one HDMI port, as well as composite in and a USB port. On the rear panel, there's 3 more HDMI ports, including 2 that support the bandwidth of HDMI 2.1, which we'll talk about a little bit more later on. After that is your digital optical audio out, analog audio out, cable input, and Ethernet input. There's cable management along the back of the TV to help you hide all your cables, though you have to remove the back panels to access this, which can be a bit difficult. Now we'll move on to the picture quality. Today I'll be comparing this to TVs that are currently available, but for an updated comparison with new models as we buy and test them, see the review page on our website, which is linked below. First up, we'll take a look at the contrast ratio. The contrast is the difference between the darkest darks and the brightest whites that a TV is able to produce, and is often considered the most important aspect of picture quality. Unlike LCD TVs that use LEDs to light up the screen, on OLED TVs, each pixel is individually lit. This results in what's considered an infinite contrast ratio, and is why OLEDs are widely considered to have the best picture quality available. While Vizio's P-Series Quantum X has outstanding contrast and can produce deep blacks, as is to be expected, it's still not as good as the perfect inky blacks the OLED is able to produce. Local dimming can help contrast by turning off specific zones of LED backlights to help those areas get closer to true black. As you can expect from an OLED, this TV doesn't need local dimming, since each pixel turns itself off as needed. Therefore, you get no blooming or issues where some sections are lit up when they shouldn't be. Most LCD TVs use a VA panel, which have subpar viewing angles. This means that if you watch the TV from an angle, you'll notice that the picture quality degrades and colors and brightness will look slightly off. OLEDs don't suffer this issue, and the viewing angles of this TV are extremely wide. This is great if your couch is positioned to the side of your TV, or if you often watch TV with a large group of people where some might be sitting to the side. It's worth noting that LCD screens with IPS panels offer better viewing angles, and some VA TVs have a special layer to improve this as well, but even they don't come close to what this OLED provides. If you watch TV in a very bright room, reflection handling can be very important to help reduce glare you'll see in dark scenes. The Vizio OLED has incredible reflection handling, and even in a super bright room, you shouldn't notice many reflections or glare. While reflection handling looks at how a TV deals with reflections during dark scenes, overall peak brightness helps TVs combat reflections that you may notice even during brighter scenes. Peak brightness is one area where OLEDs can't quite compete with higher-end LCD TVs. When dealing with non-HDR content, the peak brightness of the Vizio OLED is only mediocre, and it's actually slightly dimmer than the LG C10. When you compare it to the Vizio P-Series Quantum X 2020, you'll see that that TV has a remarkably higher peak brightness and can get nearly 3 times brighter with real-world usage. While this likely won't be an issue if you mainly watch movies in a somewhat dim room, you may notice some glare if you watch a lot of daytime TV in a room with large windows. If we move on to HDR peak brightness, it's the same story, and the Vizio OLED is slightly dimmer than the LG C10 and significantly dimmer than the Vizio P-Series Quantum X 2020. While generally you want a nice bright TV for HDR content to really help show the differences between shading and highlights, OLEDs tend to still really pop with HDR thanks to their perfect contrast and extremely deep and inky blacks. Speaking of HDR content, also important for HDR is the color gamut and volume. The gamut is the range of colors a TV is capable of showing, and having wide color gamut means you can see all the hues and colors that HDR content was mastered for. Like both the LG C10 and the Vizio P-Series Quantum X 2020, the Vizio OLED has an amazingly wide color gamut with near perfect coverage of the commonly used DCI P3 color space and decent coverage of the wider Rec 2020. While its color volume is only decent due to its dimmer screen, it can still display dark and saturated colors thanks to its perfect contrast. Since this TV is an OLED, image retention and burn-in is something that may have a lot of people worried. While we did notice some temporary image retention in our unit, this tended to go away after about 10 minutes, and it's different from permanent burn-in, though this could be an issue if you want to use your TV as a computer monitor. As far as permanent burn-in goes, we haven't tested the long-term effects on this specific model, but we've done extensive testing on other OLEDs to see how much of a problem burn-in really is for most people. You can check out our video on that here. Overall, while we don't expect burn-in to be an issue for most people who watch varied content, it may be an issue if you only watch constantly static displays, like having CNN on all day every day, or if you plan on using your TV strictly as a computer monitor. Now we'll take a look at both gray and black uniformity. Keep in mind though that both of these results may vary from unit to unit, so your TV may not perform the exact same as the unit that we purchased. Our gray uniformity test checks for issues where different pixels are supposed to be displaying the same color but may not. This can result in distracting areas known as the dirty screen effect, which is most noticeable during intense movement, such as when you're playing video games or watching sports. The Vizio OLED has excellent gray uniformity, with only minimal dirty screen effect in the center that most people likely won't notice. While it's even better in near dark scenes, like most OLEDs, there are some faint vertical and horizontal lines that may be visible in very dark rooms. As for black uniformity, as is to be expected from an OLED, it's perfect, since the TV can turn off each individual pixel, resulting in perfect uniform blacks all across the screen. If you play a lot of games or watch a lot of sports, motion handling may be the most important aspect of a TV to you. Like both the LG C10 and the Vizio P-Series Quantum X 2020, the Vizio OLED has a 120Hz panel that supports variable refresh rate, or VRR, to help reduce screen tearing. Yes, now that HDMI 2.1 sources are starting to come out and the new PlayStation and Xbox consoles are close to being released, VRR is something that a lot of people are looking for in their high-end TVs. While the Vizio OLED does support VRR, unfortunately we experienced crucial bugs that prevented it from working properly. Even after updating the TV to the newest firmware, it doesn't work with any HDMI port and constantly tears with both 1440p and 4K content. It can be enabled on a G-Sync PC, but causes the TV to crash every time. With 1080p content, FreeSync can be enabled between 40 to 60 Hz, but there's still some noticeable tearing. Overall, this is super disappointing, though hopefully all of these issues will be addressed in the future and fixed with another firmware update. If you have this TV and you've been able to get VRR to work properly, let us know in the comments below. On the bright side, response time on this TV is near instant, resulting in almost no motion blur, though this is to be expected from an OLED panel. There is some slight overshoot in dark transitions, however, so you might notice some slight artifacts in dark scenes, though this shouldn't be too noticeable to most people. There is a black frame insertion feature that you can enable by turning on the clear action setting, though unfortunately, unlike the Vizio P-Series Quantum X 2020, it only flickers at 120 Hz, and you may notice some image duplication with 60 frame per second content. It actually works differently than on most TVs, as it only activates when there's movement on the screen, and as soon as the movement stops, it returns to a state as if BFI was turned off. If you're hoping that Vizio will fix the VRR issues in the future and still want to buy this TV to use with your shiny new PS5 or Xbox Series X, then input lag is something else that'll be important to you to ensure a responsive gaming experience. Overall, the input lag is very good, though it's quite a bit worse than both the LG C10 and the Vizio P-Series Quantum X 2020. We measured around 22 milliseconds with 1080p content at 60 Hz and had nearly identical results with 4K content as well. Unfortunately, we encountered some bugs during testing with the TV skipping frames with 120 Hz content on any resolution, so we weren't able to test the input lag for it. And again, while the TV has VRR, we couldn't get that to work, so we weren't able to test the input lag with VRR either. This TV is advertised as supporting HDMI 2.1, but unfortunately, at the time of filming, it only works properly at the HDMI 2.0 resolution of up to 4K at 60 Hz at 444. While it likely should support 4K at 120 Hz, like I mentioned earlier, there's a bug where it skips frame at any resolution with 120 Hz content. It's worth noting that before the latest firmware update, it only skipped frames with game low latency enabled on some resolutions, but now it skips frames all the time. Moving on to the smart features, the Vizio OLED uses Vizio's own SmartCast interface, same as the rest of their lineup. It's easy to use and fairly smooth, though unfortunately it does crash at times. SmartCast has a ton of apps available, though they all come preloaded and you can't get more since there's no app store. Unfortunately, unlike past Vizio TVs we've tested, there are some ads on the homepage and there's no way to opt out of them. Moving on to sound quality, you probably won't be too surprised to learn that the built-in TV speakers are only alright. While they can get super loud, they lack quite a bit of bass, and if you're going for a higher-end TV like this, you'll definitely have a much more enjoyable experience if you add a dedicated sound system or even a good soundbar. So overall, how does the Vizio OLED perform? And is it a good budget option compared to the more popular but slightly pricier options like the LG C10? Well, that depends. While the picture quality is outstanding, as is to be expected from an OLED, unfortunately we encountered quite a few bugs that really limit its potential, especially in regards to gaming and motion handling. That being said, it's very possible that Vizio could address these issues and fix them with a future firmware update. And if they do, then this TV would be a much more attractive option to more people. As always, keep an eye on our website, as if Vizio does issue firmware updates, we'll be sure to do retests and update our review. So that's it. What do you think of the Vizio OLED? Have you bought it? Let us know what you think below. You can check out all of the measurements on our website, and if you like this video, subscribe to our channel or become an insider on our website for access to all of our latest test results first. Also, we're currently hiring in our offices in Montreal for various positions, so if you want to help people find the best products for their needs, have a look at the careers page on our website. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.